Darkness at nighttime, just like in any other culture, is particularly feared by Filipinos. While there are real terrors of crime and violence, Filipinos' fear of the unknown is as real as the land from which they scratched living. Moonlit nights offer little consolation to a lone traveler. Beyond bandits and robbers, what he fears most are the creatures said to inhabit the balete tree, or Ficus indica. One of the inhabitants of the tree is a tikbalang. It is a creature with the head of a horse, with a long mane and clawed feet. One such story relates how a farmer's son was hurrying home one night. The boy kept his eye on the ground and tried not to look at the stranger, but from his peripheral vision, he could see what he thought was the tallest man he had ever seen. The stranger had dark long hair and thin legs, and the boy could hear the sounds of hooves pounding in the stony trail.
Are you sure you know the way?
Yes, sir. I have taken this trail many times.
I could show you a shortcut to place where you live.
But the boy refused. The creature picked the boy and galloped deep inside the forest. It had a strange smell of goat. It placed the boy in the middle of a thicket of bamboo.
Let me out! Let me out!
He only heard the creature's laughing voice fading in the darkness. The boy cried until he fell asleep. The following day, his parents found him with fever. When the boy recovered, he told his parents about the creature that had led him astray in the woods. His parents knew that it was the tikbalang who leads people astray at night. Termite mounds and ant hills are feared throughout the country, particularly those found under the trees and home lots. People avoid these as they believe that these are inhabited by the nuno sa punso, or the old man in the mound. When passing through places with termite mounds and ant hills, it is not uncommon for Filipinos to whisper to some unseen entity the words, "Tabi-tabi po," which means, "Excuse me, may I pass?" One such story relates how an old woman who makes rice cakes for a living offended the so-called nuno sa punso. Each dawn, the old woman prepares her ingredients for the rice cake she sells by the gate of her home. But one morning, she threw the dry coconut meat out of the window without saying, "Tabi-tabi po." It happened that a little old man had come out of the termite mound under the bamboo tree behind the house. He had a long, thin beard, a big nose, and large hands and feet. At noon and at dusk, dwarves are said to enter people's yards to listen to what was being said indoors. When they hear folks say nice things about young girls who have nice names and sweet voices, they take note of these so they would know which girl they would entice into their dwarf realm. The dwarf whom the old woman hit with coconut meat waited for her. When she came out, he walked to her and demanded, "Why did you throw out the coconut meat without warning me?"
Were you badly hurt, sir?
She asked with great anxiety, for she had heard that dwarves return whatever injury they receive in the exactly equal amount. "Some of the coconut got into my eyes, and my eyes are not as much as they are."
It will never happen again. What can I do to show you how sorry I am?
"I just want a piece of that rice cake each morning, but put no spice in it, and leave it beside the mound every morning." The dwarf walked away and disappeared. The old woman did as she was told, and from then on, was careful not to offend the nuno sa punso or the old man in the mound. Perhaps the most feared of all Philippine creatures of midnight is the aswang. Up to this day, both young and old quake with fear at the mere mention of the word aswang. The aswang is feared because of its craving for human flesh and blood, and the belief is he or she will kill to get it. Aswangs also eat the flesh of the newly dead. There are two kinds of aswangs, depending on their method of locomotion. The walking aswang is a creature that walks on the ground or in the air. The flying aswang is more widely known. It is a self-segmenter and divides itself at the waist. The upper part, including the internal organs, separate and takes into air looking for prey. The lower limbs remain in the ground, hidden by trees. Both types of aswang use a magic ointment to take off. The flight-giving oil is composed of the following ingredients: ill-smelling chicken dung, coconut oil to dissolve it in, and decaying human flesh and blood. The aswang applies this to his or her body while saying enchantments like Siri-siri, Diyos kong banggi, labaw sa kakahuyan, lagbas sa kasirungan, which means there is no God at night over the trees under the houses. Or, Fuera Dios, fuera hulo, keep of God, keep of crashes. It is a pact with evil spirits and a call for the power of flight. The Filipinos' belief in the creatures of folklore is still prevalent today and will continue to be part of its dynamic culture.